Another auxiliary that we have to study is the auxiliary did. This is one of the easiest ones because either the weak or the strong form are pronounced the same, did. So it has only one possible pronunciation and in any context. He did come on time. This auxiliary is used to emphasize an emphatic affirmative, but it is the same pronunciation as the weak form. When talking about modals, we start analyzing can. The weak forms are two, can or kn. These are used in unstressed context. The second one is characteristic of very rapid speech, this one, kn. How can I help you? He can never remember his name. These weak forms are the most commonly used. Strong forms of can are used for specific context. The pronunciation is this one, can, and it occurs in emphatic affirmative when the modal verb is stressed. For example, this can be done, no doubt about it. Before a pause, we can, I suppose, work harder considering the deadline. In final position as a sentence substitute, the same cases as do and does. Can you do me a favor? Of course I can. When can is contracted with the weakest form of not, there's a change in pronunciation implied. So instead of using the sound we have for the strong form here, can, we are going to change the vowel sound and it becomes can't. So the pronunciation would be, you can't see the shore in a foggy morning. You can't. Well, we also use the strong form in initial position before an unstressed pronoun. Can you see it well? Or in tag questions, you can give us a discount. Can you? Or in WH questions plus auxiliaries plus unstressed pronoun. Well, can they? These are the same context as we analyzed in the auxiliaries do and that. And does. Could. The weak forms of could are could or could. These forms are used in unstressed context. The second one is characteristic of very rapid speech. You could do it if you try. I wish you could swim. What could I do? Weak forms in unstressed context. Strong forms, on the contrary, are pronounced with the short u, and it occurs when could is followed by the weakest form of not. He couldn't make it on time. In emphatic affirmative, when the modal verb is stressed, we say we could put him up for the night on Friday. Before the pause, you could, do it if you wanted. In final position as a sentence substitute, again this idea of this could replacing the whole sentence in the previous idea. I can't think of anyone who can do this job for us. He thinks she could. In initial position before an unstressed pronoun, initial position, I is an unstressed pronoun, so could I give you a lift? In tag questions, she couldn't see it, could she? Or in WH questions plus auxiliary plus unstressed pronoun. How could you? Okay, when analyzing the modal verb shall, we have to know that we have two possible weak forms. In fact, three possible weak forms. The isolated is used immediately in a tone group when it is contracted. I'll sure miss you. And the two other possibilities for weak forms are shall or should. These forms are used in unstressed context. The second one is a characteristic of very rapid speech. This one, shall. When shall we see you again? I shall certainly do that. Do what you ask me to. The strong forms of shall are pronounced with this vowel sound, shall. And the strong forms occur in emphatic affirmative when the modal verb is stressed. I shall say it, see to it, or before a pause, I think we shall, as we agreed before, wait for a formal communication. Or in final position as a sentence substitute, the same cases we've been dealing with. I won't do it. Oh yes, you shall. Or in initial position before an unstressed pronoun. Shall I read the first answer? We can also find the strong form in tag questions. I could show you some silver blue ones. Shall I? Let's have some music, shall we? We can also find the strong form in WH questions plus auxiliaries plus unstressed pronoun. I'll just get some of the shirts out. I can fetch them myself. There's no need to worry. Why shall we? Why shall I? Sorry. When shall is followed by the weakest form of not, there's a change in pronunciation implied in the modal. Shan't. The same that happens with can and can't happens with shall and shan't. Shan't we give them the chance? I shan't be long. In the case of the modal verb should, the weak forms are should or should. Should or should. These forms are used in unstressed context. The second one is one of the characteristics of very rapid speech. I should think so. Take an umbrella in case it should rain. The strong form for should are pronounced with the short u, and it occurs in different contexts. When should is followed by the weakest form of not, we say shouldn't. So you shouldn't tell such tales. We also find should in emphatic affirmative when the modal verb is stressed. That should be enough, but I wonder if it really is. Before a pause, although they should, they don't want to do it. In final position, a sentence substitute. Call them. I'm sure you should. In initial position before an unstressed pronoun, should I try? In tag questions, you shouldn't be here on Saturday, should you? And in WH question plus auxiliary plus an unstressed pronoun. Why should we? Why should we? Why should we? In the case of will, we have two different weak forms. The in isolation that is used after I, he, she, you, we, or they, and when they are contracted. For example, they'll give it away, you'll sure enjoy it, we'll go next week. And we also have the case of as a syllabic consonant and is used after consonants except For example, now which way round will it fit in best? That'll do. We can also have as a weak form and is used after vowels and The boy'll lose, the girl win. And syllabic and are used generally when spelling, there appears the contracted form, though you can use these forms in very rapid speech, even when will is spelled fully. That means that even when you have the full version written, the spelling is written in the full version, you can also use the weak form to read those examples. Will, this possibility is using more careful speech when will doesn't appear in contracted form. Do you know who will be there? When will they answer it? In the case of a strong form, the pronunciation is very similar, not the same as in the case of the careful speech. So the pronunciation is will. And the strong form occurs in emphatic affirmative, that means when the modal verb is stressed. I will do my best, I promise. He will say the most ridiculous things. Before a pause, even if she will, the rest of the class won't be coming. In final position as a sentence substitute, they can and will. In initial position before an unstressed pronoun, will you meet him at the airport? In tag questions, come over here, will you? In WH questions plus auxiliaries plus unstressed pronouns, like in the case of why will they? And when will is followed by the weakest form of not, there's a change in pronunciation. So we won't say they willn't, but we say they won't with the diphthong O. They won't. So the pronunciation of this sentence would be, he won't be here before midnight.